you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So our podcast is about your journey in music, obviously how you got to where you're now with Zac Brown Band and your other projects. So yeah, that's kind of what the short of what the podcast is about.
Cool.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me about where you grew up?
I'm originally from Gainesville, Georgia.
Okay.
I was born in Texas on an Air Force base, and then when I was 2, my family moved to Gainesville, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta, and grew up there. Went to UGA for a couple of years, and then went to Florida State to pursue a degree in theater.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and was playing music pretty much immediately when I got to Florida State.
Okay.
So, and all through high school, and was in all of the theater productions and those things, musical theater and straight theater and otherwise. And it's just always been kind of the thing that has drawn me to performance, has just been sort of a passion for me from the beginning. So after graduation in 93, I stuck around Tallahassee for a while. And then in 95 moved back to Atlanta proper instead of Gainesville, and have been here ever since, and just been slugging away.
Right on. You said musical theater is what you originally went to college for, theater. When did you get into music? Where it was musical, or was theater more of your passion earlier on, or was it always kind of music always there as kind of hand in hand with that, or how did that work with you?
My degree is in general theater. It's not a musical theater specific thing.
Oh, okay.
I did have musical theater stuff going on in high school, a lot of it, in fact, and I've just always loved to sing. And I was in a band in high school. You know, we were learning to play guitars, and I played bass, and always sang harmony and choir, and just really driven to learn a lot of songs. And we played some parties here and there. And by the time we got to Florida State and we're playing pretty steadily, it was a full-time job next to going to school. We were playing 3 and 4 nights a week from the time I was 20 until now, I guess. But
wow. Okay.
You know, and in that, after you've learned, you know, hundreds of cover songs and you've sort of grown weary of them, you start thinking about, what is it that I really want to play? Do I want to start writing music? And I kind of started writing music early on. And, you know, the first songs that I wrote were terrible. And you know, you have to.
That's what everybody said.
They are. They have to be. You can't come out of the gate writing great songs.
Right.
If you do, you've got a lot of help. But that's okay. I mean, you know, everybody has to learn. And then, but you know, in your early 20s, if you land on a few tunes that you feel like, oh, these are actually pretty good, you know, then that gives you the inspiration and the fire to want to keep going. And I had positive reinforcement from friends and family, and was making a living enough to continue. And it's a tough life, obviously. And I always fell back on my studio work after I got into owning some studio gear, and that's where I am now, is in my control room.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Studio. So you know, it starts off with a 4-track in a dorm room, and then it goes to an 8-track, and then it goes to the ADAT machines in the 90s, where if you had one and I had one, we could link them together. Now we got 16.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
just all of it, this natural progression of technology and of learning with friends to learn how to make records. So.
Yeah, nowadays it's wild. You could just do it with a phone or a computer. Like
absolutely,
you don't have to have all the hardware.
A laptop and a microphone, and so many people are just ready to go.
Right,
I mean, it's incredible.
It is incredible. You could write a hit, you know, song that's on the radio on your computer,
people are doing it right now.
Yeah, I know. It's bizarre. Well, I want to go back. So you said the high school band that you had that carried on it with you into college, and you were kind of doing that in college?
Well, not the same guys, but yeah, I mean,
not the same guys. Okay.
Yeah, it was the late 80s, so we were playing REM and U2 and you know, a lot of the what was deemed progressive music and kind of like pre-alternative music.
Okay.
Rock and roll, you know, 4-piece band, bass, 2 guitars, and drums with a bunch of guys singing.
And it was mainly cover songs, or
yeah, well, okay. Actually, in high school, we wrote a couple of songs. The lead singer in the band was pretty prolific for a 17-year-old guy. You know, he was very creative, and so we had a dozen tunes that we could rotate in and out of a party. I mean, these were really loose gigs, you know. I mean, somebody could come up with $100. We were just excited that there was any money.
Right.
Because we'd go play your garage for nothing. You know, it was just a matter of going to go set all the gear up and be cool. You know.
Right.
But it really is a way that lots of musicians get the bug is having these small concerts, these small gigs that you put together at home and at friends' houses, and it only takes a few people saying that was really fun and that was really, you were great at that, you know, to where you start believing it. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. When did you was there a moment that you can remember that you decided, like, you know, the music thing is where I need to be, and it's not with acting or with theater? Or were you still kind of in both up until like a break happened?
I struggled at Georgia. I wasn't. I had a lot of good friends and people that I really cared about, but I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I wasn't in a creative space, and so when I had the opportunity to go to theater school, it was to go do that, to go be creative, and to go be artistic, and to go be on stage. And without an actual plan and without knowing exactly how that was going to materialize, I went down there. And as fate would have it, I needed to get, back then there was an associate arts degree. So you could go to a 2-year, like I went to Tallahassee Community College, and I got my associate arts degree. And then I was able to transfer to Florida State the next semester. So my first semester was at TCC, and I ended up with a lot of time on my hands because it was all remedial classes that I'd had in high school, and just, you know, dotting I's and crossing T's, and like, here's your 2-year degree. It was really simple, and it was just things I already knew. So I had a lot of time on my hands, and I ended up pursuing, you know, some extracurricular activities, one of which was meeting some guys that played music, and I was in a band in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And, it was just, it was funny because we were like-minded. We knew a lot of the same songs. They had already been playing as a different band the year before. So I just kind of joined on as their new singer. And that whole year we got busy and we learned more songs, and we actually learned how to play together. And when that year ended, I didn't want to go back. You know, I didn't want the band to end because 2 of the guys graduated. So the guitar player and I found 2 other guys, and those guys played with us for another 2.5 years. So we were really pushing it. We were really into this. We made, you know, an album that we self-produced, and we had one of the mixing engineers at our favorite bar mix it, you know.
Cool.
And it was, we did it on the cheap. We were super close to the bar owner, and we got done with that record, and then we broke up. You know? So I mean, it's a very typical kind of story.
A record of all original material.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man. So you put all that work in, you get the record out, and then did you had a chance to push it at all, or was it kind of quickly after that?
Basically, the last guy in the band graduated, and one of the guys decided he didn't want to do this anymore, and one guy didn't want to move. We wanted to move to Atlanta, and one guy didn't want to move to Atlanta, and it just became this tragic mess. We were pretty, I mean, generally pretty popular for, you know, a cover band turned original band in the Tallahassee early 90s music scene, which was mostly parties, mostly
Mhm.
party music, but we were starting to build some integrity, and we really were excited about writing music. And I guess I went immediately on to start playing with another friend of mine in an acoustic duo.
Oh,
So
okay.
there was
Right
no
after that
pause.
band.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was no pause for me. I just kept going, and all the other guys took a pause, got real jobs. They still play here and there. Uh, I still know all of them.
Right, right.
but
But none of them kept going with
none of them
music.
went full time music the way that I did.
Right.
And so my new music partner and I started a band called Brighter Shade. And when we moved to Atlanta, we got a bass player and a drummer, and that band made two records, 96 and then 2001. We played a lot of the original venues in the Southeast, but we were still dependent on uh, a lot of cover material to make money,
Okay.
which puts you in a really difficult situation because you can never really break free. But if you take on a 9 to 5, then you can't break free from that.
Right.
So,
That's what I've heard. I've heard the cover bands is really where the money is, especially right away. If you can play 4
easy,
hours of music, people want
right?
to pay you to be there.
The easy money. You can go,
Yeah.
you can go make $150 and play for 4 hours at a restaurant 4 nights a week and keep your hands warm and keep learning songs and do
Right.
that and work the rest of the week on your own material.
Mhm.
But it's easy to get into that rut because $600 a week is, even if
600
you
bucks a
even if
week.
you can continue that all the time, that never really amounts to a lot. I mean,
Right.
you're still just week to week paying the rent and trying to cover your bills. So
Mhm.
tricky, but
Definitely, yeah.
which is why the studio was appealing to me, because I could continue to write and create and make music for other people as well as myself, and I was able to double my income.
And was
So
that something you just kinda learned on your own, just
yeah,
trial and error? Okay.
yeah, I've got a knack for the audio end of production, and I asked a lot of questions, and I went into a few studios and pointed, what's that, what does this do,
Sure.
and started just kind of breaking
Building.
things.
Yeah.
You have to ruin a lot of things before you figure it out on your own. But it would have been nice to have had some training, but I did get sort of you know hard knocks training from a lot of friends that were better than me at certain things, and so um,
And
that was the way that I came through it. And at some point, I realized that building this home studio was the seventh studio that I'd built, and I was like, God,
wow.
that I was counting them up. I was like, wow, there's been a pretty turbulent 25 years here. So
Yeah.
um,
Wow. The 7th studio. I mean, but spending all that time in studios over the years, I'm sure you obviously gain a knowledge and know what you want and which gear you need and all
yeah,
that.
well, this one certainly was, is intended to be my final one. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
it's like a studio buddy of mine said several years ago. They said they're taking me out of here feet first. This is my last one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die in this chair and then it's over. Like
Right. Bury me under the studio.
yeah, right. I'm not building another one.
Right.
Um, but to that end, after you've built one that you really feel like you can retire in,
Mhm.
and I'm a long way from retirement, but you feel like you can really, this can become a part of my life.
Mhm.
Then building a little room if you pick up a like a lake house and you're like, oh well, this closet will be good for
Right.
my little closet studio. Then those don't really count. Those are just
Right.
little spots that you can be creative. But
You could record a full band in your room, right?
oh,
That you
this
didn't
thing
even
is
need.
legit.
Yeah.
When you get a chance, go to brightershade.com.
Okay.
It's in the roof of my house, and the ceilings are 20 feet. Um,
Wow.
so it's like a cathedral ceiling like this, and
Yeah.
and on one side, so it's 45-degree angles. It's not a flat, kind of weird like ceiling like that where you don't have much headroom.
Right.
it's like
Oh, wow.
so we pitched out one of the ceiling pieces, and it's a 12-foot wall on one side, and it's massive.
Wow.
And I
Have you
can do,
done any? Go ahead.
yeah, I can do. The first record that we did in here was a 17-piece big band,
Oh my gosh.
like 13 horns, all in chairs with music stands, drums in the lounge, bass player in the booth, keyboard set up right next to the control room, and me singing into the wall. I mean, like
Oh, wow.
it was busy, and
Yeah.
that was the first time we hit record in here, so we
Oh
went
my
after it
gosh.
quickly.
Wow. Yeah. I was gonna see if you had done like a full band or like a Zac Brown record in there, but a 13
We
piece like full on
yeah,
band. That's pretty incredible.
we've done 2 years of rehearsals in here with ZBB, and it's been very comfortable. Um, and very convenient. All the guys, most of the guys live in the Atlanta area. Um, the recording that we've done here for Zac Brown Band has been limited in that, within 6 weeks of being quarantined, Zac had sent us a new song idea, and that was "The Man Who Loves You the Most,"
Wow.
which we recorded all our parts in our respective home studios.
Oh,
So
okay.
then it was mixed by an engineer out of Nashville. So really interesting that technology allows us to just compile all of these different parts.
Sure.
And at the end of it, it sounded like Zac Brown Band. I was like, we can do this all day.
Right. I know. It's crazy. I've talked to a few musicians that have, wrote over like Zoom or the same thing with file sharing. And they're just like, I love this. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's certain things you obviously have to capture in a live room, but I mean, if it's a
Right.
guitar part or something that you just want to get down, I mean,
Yep.
you can just send it over to them or send it to whoever and they can
Yep.
lay on
Carve
their
it out,
piece.
put it
Yeah.
on the web, and somebody can download it, and you're done.
It's
I mean,
crazy. It's so
yeah.
crazy. Well, okay, so you started Brighter Shade. That was still in college, the end of college.
Yeah.
And then you said that band put out a couple records. And did you
Yeah.
guys tour and do that whole thing? Was
We
really
did, but it was all independent. I think
Oh, wow.
the furthest we got, we went out to Colorado at some point. And when the way that you do those sorts of things is you reach out to your friends. This is before cell phones,
Mhm.
so you're like, oh, my buddy Jason lives out in Boulder. Let's figure out a way. Like he's in a really cool band called Chupacabra. Let's go out there and try to play with them somewhere. And then we roll out, so we roll out the map at this point, and we're looking like, okay, Boulder's here, Atlanta's here. Where can we stop in the middle? Oh,
Sure.
St. Louis, Springfield, Missouri. We know some people there. My brother's in Dallas. Let's go there. So you're starting to call people and route on your own this 2.5-week jaunt just to go out and play the Aggie Theater in Fort Collins, and that's your tour. And it's because you want to. It's not because it's going to be a big lucrative thing,
Right.
and you don't have a label. So we're really at the end of the day just doing this because it's what we wanted to do, and we didn't know how to get management or how to get a label or a record deal, or we would get a lawyer involved, and then we'd be scared of what the lawyer said.
Oh, sure.
And then it was a terrible, the learning process was really painful.
And were those things you were able to achieve with Brighter Shade, or did that come later down the line?
Well, I mean, Brighter Shade, I think people might know more about it now than they did then, just because of
okay, more recently.
Yeah, of my involvement in it. But Brighter Shade didn't really play any gigs after 99.
Oh, okay.
We
Wow.
put a record out in 2001. We played like twice a year. It became like my studio was taking all of my time, and it was just a passion project. It was just a way for me to continue to write. But it wasn't a band that made money. And at that point, I was I was deep into the studio gig when I met Zac, which was the late 90s. I was running an open mic night where I would try to recruit local people to come
Oh,
record.
cool.
You know?
Like it was like at a venue and you try to get those people to come back and record at your studio.
Yeah,
Oh,
they would.
cool.
So they would. I was hosting the open mic night. So if
Mhm.
nobody showed up, I was playing for $100 on
Oh,
a
okay.
Tuesday. You know, but but as people started to show up, as it started to the word started to get out, um, I turned it into a contest, much like Eddie's Attic. So
Oh.
the winner would get a song in my studio. So I would give away a song for free, and out of the half dozen winners that came and did a song, two of them came back. You know, one was Sonia Lee, and one was Zac. Um, and so Zac actually did a whole record with me from 2001 to 2003, and just paying for it when he could. At some point, he traded me like a PS2 for studio time. You know, he brought in a mini fridge. He gave me like an SG. You know,
Jeez,
I'm
yeah.
like, what else you got? You know, like, I don't have any money. I was like, well, but we'll figure it out. And he would say, would you take this? You know, whatever. Um, but that's how it worked. I mean, and so after we finished that record, he and I remained close, and we had become friends for that during that time. And so I'd go see his band play, and his band was like him and two other guys,
Mhm.
you know. And we were on the Rock Boat together, and we'd see him at the Irish pub playing, cover songs and stuff. And Zac had a really big way of he could play cover songs, but he would make them his own, and he would play his own stuff in the middle of it, and
Mhm.
he never took that for granted. He'd have people just he never let it get to him. Like, he never let the monotony of that get him down, and he always brought good
Mhm.
energy to the show.
Okay.
And everybody in there, he's very personable. Everybody in there would know him. Like, he knew everybody in the joint, and that's a lot of us are more introverted than that.
Sure.
And he was super easy to talk to. Anyway, years passed. 2005, he came back to my studio, and he brought Sean Mullins with him. And I don't know if you know Sean or not, but he had a big hit in the late 90s called Lullaby.
Yeah, I know the name.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So around Atlanta, everybody knows
Big
Sean.
deal. Yeah.
He's a big deal. And so he had written this, he was there to write this song with Zac that he had started with Wyatt, and that turned into Toes, which
Oh,
is,
wow.
yeah. So
Huge hit.
yeah, huge hit that I helped finish. So I had writing credit on this song
Oh, wow.
that nobody had heard in 2005. But it was then that Zac said that he needed a new bass player, and so I volunteered to come sit in until he found one.
Oh my gosh.
Because I had no understanding that we were going to do anything. Like, he was playing 4 nights a week at bars around Atlanta, and I was like, yeah, man, that sounds fun. Let's do that. So I already knew all of his songs, because I recorded them.
Yeah. So
You know?
you recorded that first. Did you record the first record, or you just worked on that one song, or a lot of
We
the stuff was
recorded,
done prior?
yeah, we recorded Chicken Fried and whatever it is on the record that I did, and then we re-recorded them for the Foundation.
Okay.
So the first 2 albums, the Foundation and the You Get What You Give, a lot of that stuff was done in my studio at the time,
Wow.
in Atlanta. Yeah. But it was done by Keith Stigall and John Kelton, and Matt Rovey, these guys that came from Nashville to do it. But we saved a bunch of money being able to do it at my place.
Yeah.
And the third record was at Echo Mountain in Asheville, and then we did overdubs at my place. So I mean, I've always tried to make my studio available for those records, but it's not always the most convenient or the best choice.
Right. But you've been a part. When did you actually then officially join the band? I mean, if you were recording all the earlier stuff and writing
2005.
songs, I mean, so you started with pretty much right away then after that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Jimmy and I have been in the band since he joined like 3 months before me. He's
Oh,
like November of '04, and I think February of '05.
okay.
And so we're the oldest, the longest running members in the group.
Sure.
But it's so it's those sorts of things that really make it feel like it's my band, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Just having been
Definitely.
around for so long.
I mean, to even be writing with them before really the Zac Brown Band really kind of started, so to speak. I mean, you're writing with him on, you said Toes was before you guys even really started going, right?
Yeah, I mean the chicken fried and the whatever it is were done, and that album was called Homegrown, and he used to sell them at shows, but he never released it on online or never got distribution for it or anything like that. So it exists in the ether.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
But the foundation was the first Zac Brown Band record. So
wow. I know you've been, obviously you guys have done so much since those days, with all the Grammy Awards and the CMT Awards and everything else, all the other major accomplishments you guys have had. Do you remember, like, what was the first moment that you were like, wow, this is really like something that's a thing? Like, was there a moment that was like of realization, like, wow, this band is really doing stuff?
there have been many.
What was the first? I guess
the very first one, and this is kind of a silly moment, but it was so emotionally jarring to me because it had never happened on any stage that I had ever been on before.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and this is silly because it was a cover.
Oh,
But we were opening for Angie Aparo, and Angie Aparo is another Atlanta legend who had a big song in the late '90s, and the world didn't catch on, which is a shame for the world because Angie is one of the finest singers I've ever known. But he couldn't he was on the radio, but it didn't get out of the Atlanta market.
sure.
So anyway, but yeah, he's amazing. Anyway, he had sold out Center Stage Theater. I guess it was, I want to say 800 seats or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were opening for him. And this was 2005. This was probably 5 months into being in the band with Zac, and we're playing 5 nights a week, and I'm in a play at the same time, which is super weird because I hadn't been in a play in so many years, but I was in a play about the life of Hank Williams with Jimmy. I'd recruited Jimmy to go be in the play, so he and I had to rush from the play to the venue to go play this opener for Angie's gig. And so we're playing in front of Angie's crowd, and we've got our own crowd there. We probably got 200 or 300 of our people there, and then Angie's got the rest of the room. And we played Devil Went Down to Georgia, which is a staple for us. And we actually played it in 2009 at the CMAs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's on. You can look at YouTube and find that performance too.
That's right.
It was such a big thing because Zac would do the whole with he would do the fiddle thing on the guitar. And he wouldn't do it with his wrist. He was, he had the forearm thing going, so it looked like he was breaking the guitar in half, and it's super accurate, and he was playing it so fast, and I remember this moment where we were playing it, and Jimmy was on my left and Zac was on my right, and Jimmy leans over to me and says, "I'm gonna run over and duel with Zac when he gets to the end part." I was like, okay. Like, and I don't know if he had been doing that before or if that was the first time he did it, but he had to get past me to do it, and we were in front of Angie's stage stuff, so we didn't have much room going on. But he runs over there at the end of the song, and they do this little spinning around the stage where they're looking at each other in there.
Oh, okay.
And they're dueling, and they do this this round thing, bam, bam, and the crowd went ape shit, and it was like screaming like I'd never heard, and it went on for maybe 25 seconds, just like,
Oh,
and it was
wow.
like, what's going on, you know? And it was this moment, it was early on, but we had a connection with each other early that was hard to ignore. And it shone through the vocal stacks that we were putting together. And Jimmy was a big deal, a big part of that, because he was such a great player and energetic, and he could be flashy when he wanted to. And our drummer was fantastic. You know, we've always had good players. So that was the kind of the moment where I heard that crowd response and thought, oh, this might
This
might
is something.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think it was the next week that I told Zach, I was like, I know it's been 2 months now or 3 months now, however long it had been, and if you're not looking, I'm not leaving, you know, because I'm still sitting in, you know.
Oh, sure. They haven't
You know,
officially like said
a
you're in the
couple
band
guys,
yet.
yeah, a couple guys showed up to jam once in a while, and I'd be like, yeah, come jam, and they'd play a couple songs, and it's almost like they were auditioning for the bass part and on my gear, you know.
Right. And then you're like, yeah, you're not that good.
Well, they were better than me. That's the thing.
Oh.
All these guys are better than me, but they don't sing.
Ah, okay.
You know, or they sing a little bit, but they don't sing.
Sure.
I'm a singer.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn to play the bass and sing. And once I was able to do that, I guess that was a good combo. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, you even have full songs on the records. It's not like he just sings.
Well,
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, so obviously amazing career with Zac Brown Band. I have a question. Like, what were you guys doing right before like the whole coronavirus lockdown happened, and how did that affect you guys directly?
We got home on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, March, whatever that was, 6th or 7th. And my family had tickets to go see the jousting show with you eat the turkey leg. It's at the mall.
I can't remember.
Medieval Times.
Oh yeah, Medieval Times. Yeah. Okay.
So we had never been. I've got 3 young daughters, and we're like, we're gonna go do like the King Arthur thing at the mall, like 30 minutes away. And so we get up there, and we're in there, you know, getting our food and watching the jousting matches, and we're sitting there, and we're like, should we be here? You know?
Yeah. Was it like slim to nobody there?
No, well, it was busy.
Oh, okay.
And my wife and I had just done, you know, we had just been on the train cruise, Sail Across the Sun, which was Valentine's Day.
Oh,
and we're starting to hear about there's a cruise in Japan they can't leave port for weeks or something. And we're like, why? It's like, well, this virus that you heard about is getting worse. It's like, oh, well, hopefully that won't affect our trip.
Right.
And, you know, 2.5, 3 weeks later, we're at Medieval Times, and the buzz is starting to happen, and we're like, we probably shouldn't be out in a big crowd. Like,
right.
And that was when it kind of hit us. And the next day was a Monday, and I was planning to fly to Nashville on the Tuesday and go have several meetings before meeting the Nashville bus and meeting the Zac Brown Band tour in somewhere in Illinois or something. I was gonna get on someone else's bus and then go to my bus.
Sure.
She's from Atlanta. So I had this big plan this week, and Zach called and he's like, man, I don't think we're going to go out this week. Like, he's like, this virus is a big deal, and I don't think you should fly. I mean, it's like, I said, well, if we're not going out, then there's no sense in me flying at all. Like, why even go up there? You know, the whole point, like, I'd have to figure out a way to get home. You know, I'd have to Greyhound or get another flight home.
Yeah.
Let me just take a minute here and see if this blows over. And that was March 8th.
Wow.
And the whole world locked down after that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wasn't aware if you were like on the road somewhere when it happened, because I've talked to a handful of people that were like on tour, and then they would start seeing kind of the crowds dwindling, and then it would be like a sold out show and maybe 30% are there. And then
we were
this
ahead of it
serious.
enough to where our shows got postponed before they got small.
Mhm.
And then they got canceled, and now we're starting to look into
Yeah,
the fall of 2021, and some of them are tentatively coming back, just like in terms of like Live Nation's trying to come back, and I'm hearing rumors that, oh, we might be back out,
Yeah.
when we've got the vaccine for 3 months or something.
Mhm.
I mean, like, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I know. It's who knows exactly.
That was the weirdest part, is that, yeah, we came home for the week we got home on Sunday, and Monday, Tuesday, we're going to be back out on Wednesday, and then we weren't.
Wow. Okay, so you're on the road. You had a little break in between shows or something?
Well, see, we don't tour the way most bands tour. We all have small children.
Right.
So,
So it's not like we're gonna leave for 6 weeks or 5
yeah,
months.
we haven't done that since 2008.
Okay, that's cool.
But we do go out for 3 and 4 nights in a row, like for 3 and 4 performances in a row. So it means if we leave on Tuesday, we'll play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, be home on Sunday, stay Monday, Tuesday, leave on Wednesday again, play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, skip a week.
Okay.
Skip a whole week. It still translates into 70 or 80 shows a year, but we have sporadic time at home, so we can come home and hug our babies and reconnect for a day, and then go back out.
That's nice. That's really nice.
But it was a regular progression of touring for us.
Yeah.
So we were on tour. We just happened to be home
during that time, right when everything shut down. Wow.
When the day break happened, it meant don't go back to the bus because we're not going.
Right. It's just we'll see what happens from there. But you guys have put a song out during the lockdown. You were talking about writing a song over Zoom or over the internet.
Yeah, there have been 2.
Okay.
2 different songs have come out, and strangely enough, I mean, they're 2 of my favorites. I mean, Zac has been getting really involved in a lot of pop stuff as of late, and while some of it is super cool, some of it doesn't strike me the way that our music traditionally does. But these songs, after he's been home by himself and with his girls and all that, it's almost like we're starting over. It's weird. Like, these tunes that he's sent us have really felt natural to this band. So, while the other ones are good and they're exploring new sounds and new vibes, this feels like us. Weird that a pandemic hits and you start to reconnect with yourself.
Sure. I know. It's crazy. Well, thank you so much, John, for talking with me today. I really, really, really appreciate it. You've been great. I really appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I do have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
The one thing that I do say very frequently when people ask me that question is, if you want to have a life in music, then the most important thing that you have to remember is that you can't quit. You can't let it get too hard and say, I'm going to do something else. You have to commit. And in that's tricky, because there are sometimes people who have a greater love for it than they have a knack for it. And so to them, that's not the best advice. But to those who recognize their knack for it and their passion for it, and even if they're not as good as the guy next door who playing the same covers. Your heart has to be 100%, and you have to go for it, and you can't quit. Persistence is definitely the biggest part of longevity in music, and you know, I love it, and I don't see me doing anything else. I've done a few segues. I've been in a couple movies, but it was me playing musicians, you know, or at least contributing music in some way, and not using my theater degree to its full potential. But even in this pandemic, you know, I've had the opportunity to finish my new solo record, and I've got a new single out that just came out in November, and it's the new record's coming out in February. So it's like this downtime has allowed me to branch out into songs that I've written for the past several years, and hopefully come back to a Zac Brown Band tour stronger and more invigorated, you know.